Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Well, hope it's been a nice day for you wherever you are, and it's been a nice day here. It's 80 degrees and sunny skies and just a mild breeze. Really nice out. A lot of people enjoying the day, doing things. And as things go, I know that it's really hot out in the Midwest and in the West Coast, and as it turns out, they said that last month was the hottest month ever recorded for because of climate change and all that going on. At this point, I can't imagine why anybody would even still argue the point that it's a hoax. Okay, I mean, if you're saying that, I mean, you're like one of those people that says the Sasquatch is real or something, and no one's ever seen it, except fuzzy photographs taken. Okay, I mean, people that are saying that, you're looked at in that way now. You're just one of the kooks out there that believe in that sort of thing. That everything's a fucking conspiracy, everything's rigged, everything. When you can't explain it, it doesn't exist. Okay. That might work as an adult, but if you're a kid going to school and you tell the teacher that's not true, and you can't prove it, they'd send you into special ed or something like that. Okay, they can't deal with people like that. So anyway, Trump was talking about his policy on tariffs. Okay, that was the big Trump thing today, on top of what's still breaking in Georgia there about the shooting yesterday. Anyway, economists were listening to him talk about his tariff plan, and they just don't see how that's going to work. Okay, because their experience with tariffs is that what happens when you put tariffs on goods, the extra cost that these overseas companies have to pay in tariffs gets passed on to the consumer. And that's how they can pay the tariff, okay? So in other words, we end up paying for it, not the people that Trump is saying it's going to be directed at. It falls on our shoulders. They pass the buck. So here's an article from CNN Business written by Matt Egan. The title is "The Trump Policy That Scares Economists the Most." Former President Donald Trump wants to spend trillions of dollars on tax cuts. His plan to pay for that is alarming some mainstream economists. Trump proposed sweeping tariffs on all $3 trillion worth of imports into the United States, including a 60% tariff on imports from China and a 10% across-the-board tariff on imports from other nations. Recently, Trump doubled down on the threat, saying he is considering tariffs of up to 20% on most imports in a bid to protect working-class jobs and punish what he labels unfair trading practices. In theory, the unprecedented tariff hikes could raise trillions of dollars, funds that would help cover the costs of the tax cuts. However, many economists warn that those tariffs could backfire badly by raising prices on American families, killing jobs, and setting off a global trade war. It's part of the reason Goldman Sachs in an analyst note this week, said Trump's economic policies, particularly on trade, would cause America's economy to shrink. By contrast, Vice President Kamala Harris's economy policy proposals would grow the economy, Goldman Sachs predicted. Goldman and other experts fear Trump's tough proposed trade tactics could worsen the affordability crisis in America. Quote, it's one of those magical economic proposals that can actually cause inflation and put you into a recession at the same time, unquote. David Kelly, chief global strategist at JP Morgan Asset Management, told CNN in a phone interview. Kelly warned that tariffs are a, quote, perfect stagflation machine, unquote, threatened to scramble supply chains and invite a punishing response from trading partners. Quote, it's a 2-year-old mentality. You punch someone in the nose and expect them not to punch you back, unquote, he said. Trump plans to detail his economic vision for America during a major address on Thursday at the New York Economic Club, which he did today. The speech comes as a new CNN poll finds that economic issues remain the biggest concern for voters, with an average of 39% of likely voters across 6 battleground states choosing it as their top issue. Trump's trade proposals could be equivalent to a $3 trillion tax hike, warned Douglas Holtz-Eakin, president of the center-right think tank, the American Action Forum. These are Republicans now. Quote, it's enormously protectionist and terrible economic policy, unquote, said Holtz-Eakin, who served as an economic advisor to former President George H.W. Bush and an advisor to the 2008 presidential campaign of GOP Senator John McCain. It's hard to know how much of Trump's tariff talk is a negotiating tactic and how much he intends to enact if he were reelected, noted Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody's Analytics. Quote, but even just a step in that direction is problematic. It's a very bad idea. If there is anything that most economists can agree on, it's that tariffs are bad, unquote, Zandi said. Trump campaign National Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt disputed the economist's assessment in a statement to CNN. Quote, so-called economists and experts, yeah, so-called, a guy that spent 40 years on so-called expert, okay. So-called economists and experts doubted President Trump's economic plans in his first term. They were proven wrong then, and they'll be proven wrong again. President Trump successfully imposed tariffs on China. Successfully? That's not the way I remember it, okay? I remember when he did that, the prices of things went up through the fucking roof around here, and that's when all this bitching about prices started, was under Trump, not under Biden. Biden, kept inflation down as best he could, but the price, people bitching about prices, that began in the last 2 years of his presidency. Of course, COVID was going on at that time then too, but again, that started under Trump, not Biden. Okay, tax cuts for hardworking Americans were at home, and he will do it again in the second term. Unquote, Leavitt said in the statement. Quote, President Trump's plan will result in millions of jobs and hundreds of billions of dollars returning home from China to America. Well, returning home to America, they make it sound like it's going to go back in our pockets. No, it's going to go in the pockets of the wealthy. On top of the tax breaks that they're going to get, they're also going to get the money that we spent, buying China's goods. And that money is going to go back into their pockets. You see how they, the Republicans try to twist things so that way you don't know what the hell's going on, okay? They cover the asses of the wealthy in this country so damn good, They got it. They got the narrative right down. Harris's campaign accused Trump of lying to Americans about his policies. Really? In what way? Quote, Donald Trump is denying this broad bipartisan consensus, hoping that most economic analysis of his ideas are dead wrong, and blatantly lying to the American people about the severe costs and consequences of his economic plans, unquote. Brian Nelson, a top economic advisor to Harris, wrote in a memo obtained by CNN. Trump has championed tariffs as a way to help working class Americans by protecting workers from unfair trade practices and as a negotiating tactic to reach more favorable trade agreements. However, Some experts fear they will do the opposite. Trump's call for a 20% across-the-board tariff combined with 60% tariff on China would cost the typical middle-income household more than $2,600 a year, according to updated estimates published last month by the Peterson Institute for International Economics. That's up from the researchers' previous estimate of $1,700, which was based on a 10% tariff. Importantly, these estimates do not factor in the impact from potential foreign retaliation, slower economic growth, or lost competitiveness in a global trade war that it would cause. The actual impact could be far higher, and the pain would not be evenly divided among families, the Peterson Institute found. Although households in all 5 income quintiles would lose money from the Trump tariffs and tax cuts, the lowest earners would be hurt the most. Quote, the losses are greatest for those at the bottom of the income distribution, unquote, researchers Kimberly Clausing and Mary Lovely wrote in an August update. Quote, the top 1% would experience net gains in income because losses from tariffs are more than offset by Trump's proposed tax cuts. Trump imposed tariffs on imported solar panels, steel and aluminum, and Chinese-made goods have cost Americans more than $230 billion, according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And U.S. states are more exposed to U.S. tariffs on imports from China experience, quote, lower increases or even decreases in employment and output between 2018 and 2019, according to a study from St. Louis Federal Reserve economists. But tariffs on Chinese goods have become popular on both sides of the aisle. Notably, the Biden-Harris administration has kept in place most of the Trump-era tariffs. In May, President Biden announced increased tariffs on $18 billion worth of Chinese goods, including electric vehicles, solar cells, and computer chips. Harris has not detailed specific plans for ramping up or dialing back tariffs. Trump has called for extending his signature 2017 tax cut, which expires next year if no action is taken by Congress. Trump has argued that extending the tax cuts will boost the economy, create jobs, and help families. However, researchers from Princeton University, the University of Chicago, Harvard University, and the U.S. Treasury Department earlier this year found that while the 2017 tax law boosted investment in an American economy and helped to modestly increase wages, the tax cuts did not pay for themselves. In any case, extending the tax cuts would be an expensive proposal. Extending the individual income tax provisions from the 2017 tax law alone would cost $3.4 trillion over a decade, according to estimates from the nonpartisan Penn-Wharton model. By contrast, Harris' economic plans would cost between $1.2 trillion and $1.4 trillion over a decade, as of Penn-Wharton's latest model, which did not account for policy proposals Harris made this week. Trump has suggested cutting the corporate tax rate again, dropping it from 21% to 20%, or even 15%. The Penn-Wharton model estimates a cut to 15%, and extending the business tax provisions of the 2017 law would pile on another $1.2 trillion in costs. Beyond the tax cut extension, Trump has also proposed eliminating taxes on Social Security benefits that would cost $1.2 trillion over a decade, according to Penn-Wharton. The Trump campaign has not detailed significant spending cuts or tax hikes to offset these tax cuts. The Penn-Wharton model does not incorporate the revenue benefits from the potential tariff hikes, noting that key implementation details are missing and cautioning that the consequences of a new trade war could be costly. Quote, while new import taxes on tariffs could raise several $trillion in new revenue over the next 10 years, they could also lead to revenue losses due to potentially retaliatory actions from other governments and other economic dynamics, unquote. So, he's got ideas, but he's not really explaining himself well enough to ward off concerns from economists and investors on exactly how this is going to benefit the country, because what they're seeing is Trump taking a gamble here, a really big one, that that A, the consumers aren't going to bitch because the price is still going up, right? And that get that fucking car the hell off the road. Christ. That, you know, they're counting on the idea that people are just going to buy and, you know, and not bitch. Well, that's not happening now. People are already complaining now that prices are too high, okay? And so if they see Trump get into office and next year prices could rise again, what do you think that's going to do? That's not going to make people happy, okay? And you maggots out there ain't going to be happy that he did that, all right? You guys are going to find some way to twist that on to Biden as, oh, it's his fault it's going up. No, you just heard right there. That's what Trump's proposing if he becomes president on his fucking day one. Okay? He's going to hit China with all kinds of tariffs, you know, and other countries. Okay? And then all those tariffs are going to get passed on to us when we go buy the stuff. So how in the hell do you think that's not going to get people's ire up? You know, that... In times like this, where people are pinching pennies to pay their fucking bills, you're out there championing the cocksucker that wants to go out and make it even harder for you to fucking pay those bills. You people are sick. All right? So, you know, it's the economists out there are right to be concerned about this, okay? And these are Republicans, mind you. These people that I was telling you that are commenting here, these were people in Republican administrations coming out against Trump's idea. All right. So he ain't paying these people any money, okay? Because if he did, they'd come out and say, oh, it's going to work, it's going to work. No, they're coming out there and they're telling you exactly what's going to happen, okay? So you know it's the truth, all right? And the only asshole that was out there saying arguing against that is somebody who's in Trump's campaign already, okay? So they're getting paid to say that. But these other folks are not, okay? These people are telling you what they know without any influence from Trump or any of his lackeys, okay? They're telling you what they're seeing here, and it doesn't make sense. What Trump's saying, oh, is going to bring about a brave new day for this country, has a very small chance of ever seeing the light of day if he gets in there, okay? Because it means more cost to us, more benefits to the top, okay? And a further split, a divide in the gap between the wealthy and the poor, okay? And that could send us right back into a recession, you know, or whatever the hell you want to call it. It's gonna cause a slowdown in the economy, which is what we don't need right now, okay? Biden has got the economy moving along. Maybe not everybody's seeing that. It all depends on where you live, okay? But in some parts of this country, you know, things are starting up. You know, jobs are being created, factories are being built. All right, and if Trump gets in there, he'll basically put a stop to all of that by what he implements for an economic policy. There'd be no need to build factories, so the factories will remain unbuilt, just like his fucking wall down on the border remained unbuilt when he decided he was gonna make us pay for that fucking thing. Okay. And it never got finished. So, like I said, this is a guy that's got no plan that really makes any sense. But these same people are saying that Kamala's plan, you know, seems better, is a better bet. Look, this should not be a shock to most of you out there. Whenever we get a Republican president in the White House, we always end up with a damaged economy. We always do. It's history. Every fucking time. And a Democrat gets elected afterwards because the people are so fucking pissed at the economy. All right? It's always about the money. All right? Never forget that. It's about the economy, stupid. Even when the whole world could be at the brink of nuclear war, it's always going to be about the economy when it comes to an election. And that's what it is right now. Okay? We had Trump, all right? He implemented those tariffs, and we had a trade war with China that devastated our economy here. Okay, people were paying through the nose for things all over the damn spectrum. All right. He inherited a good economy from President Obama, and he rode that for about a year and a half, and then he started fucking with it. And then it ended up in a disaster at the worst possible time when that pandemic broke out. Okay, so he finished his one term as president with a broken economy and the nation in dire straits. And Biden had to come in here and somehow, you know, overnight, like most people were thinking, turn the country around. Well, he did turn it around. It took longer than most people wanted, but he did manage to do that. And here we are the last few months of his presidency, okay? And, you know, things are looking good. They're optimistic. Things are, you know, people are feeling more optimistic. You know, there's work being made. And, you know, infrastructure has been dealt with. That was something that Trump never did, okay? He's worked on that. I imagine in your neighborhoods, you've probably seen people working on the roads all the fucking time. That's part of Biden's, you know, incentive there to get things like that going. He's got jobs going, happening, and the stock market is showing increases. The stock market's not in free fall like Trump said it is. No, it isn't. They're doing pretty well. They've been bragging about the profits they made, even though those profits have been because of the price gouging that's been going on now, okay? Let's not forget that. You don't get a free fall market when they're price gouging you. Okay? Think about that for a minute. But just remember that. That's where we are right now. And Trump, well, he's the one that's going to come in there with his idea and spoil the whole damn thing. You know, he's going to make it bad because, hey, you can't price gouge people that aren't going to buy your shit. If people see the prices of goods go up, they're not going to buy. That all this joyriding they've been doing here, you know, charging us through the nose for a box of cereal or something like that, that's going to come to a fucking stop. Then they're going to start to see declines, you know, on Wall Street and all that. And you think they're going to want to see that now? No. No. They've been having it really good right now, making all kinds of money off of us, using the old excuse that, oh, well, you know, we're trying to make up for the profits we didn't have on the pandemic. They already did made up those profits within the first year, you know, the first full year after Biden became president. They already made their profits back. When people started getting back to work and everything, it didn't take long, okay? Because you know, the pandemic, they make it sound like the pandemic was forever. No, it wasn't, okay? They had areas closed down, but it wasn't for a whole year. So when things opened back up and people went back to work, the profits started rolling in. They had raised the prices, if you recall, during the pandemic in order to offset the losses that they were going to get from people not traveling, not doing this, not doing that, okay? They never lowered those prices since then. And that's why people have been bitching. It's like, hey, everybody's back to work, but you're still charging us, you know, extra for this and that and everything else when you don't need to anymore. And they don't want to lower the price. Price gouging. Okay? Price gouging. Has nothing to do with President Biden that was going on. Okay? It had nothing to do with that at all. That was the corporations. And believe me, he already spoke to us about that. You know, that he was taking steps to try to combat that, which was part of his Inflation Reduction Act thing that he, you know, and of course the Republicans tried to stop that at every opportunity, so that way it would never happen. So you got to remember who was running Congress under the Biden administration. The Republicans were. All right, they were his fucking roadblock, so he couldn't get much done. All right, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
That's fucked up.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Well, you learn, Donald. They're all against you.
You might have seen a couple of days ago Donald Trump's already dwindling crowd get even smaller.
Even the spy Mitch McConnell and Karl Rove sent to keep an eye on you. Chris LaCivita likes them, knows them, worked for people like Mitch McConnell and Bush for decades.
And a new poll indicates Harris is surging in the Sunbelt states.
He didn't want to work for you, but it seems like he's still working for them, giving you bad advice, steering you wrong.
Donald Trump supporters are now either dressing up as empty seats at his rallies, or the guy has a serious problem getting people to show up for him.
Embarrassing you. J.D. Vance, he let you choose that embarrassment, costing you money. And if you didn't win, he's just fine. He goes back to working for Karl Rove or Mitch McConnell or the rest of the establishment GOP who hate you because you're paying Rove's guy, McConnell's guy, and he doesn't believe in you at all.
Driver's license, registration.
Here you go, sir. How's your day going?
That your daughter?
Sure is.
Abigail, right?
How do you know her?
Were you about 8 weeks pregnant? So you've been spotting recently. You've had any cramps or nausea?
That's personal.
You been taking your prenatal vitamins?
Excuse me?
Are you ticketing me for something?
Where are you heading, Abigail?
To go see my older sister, Natalie.
Well, that's strange. This says here that Natalie's at a concert in Dallas. And your navigation is set to a women's health clinic in one of those abortion states.
We have the right to travel.
Not anymore. Step out of the car.
Please, officer.
Both of you out now. You, sir, are under arrest for crossing state lines to obtain an abortion for a minor under your care. And you, young lady, well, you're under arrest for evading motherhood.
Today, not tomorrow, not next week. Today is the day I hope you will donate to support our movement, because the truth is, time is running out. We're in the final lap of this race, and Election Day will be here before you and I know it. So I need you to act now so your donation can have the greatest impact. The stakes in this election could not be higher, and we cannot throw up our hands when we must roll up our sleeves. Let's get to work.
The Olympics give us examples of unparalleled athleticism, feats of human flexibility that defy imagination. But there's one man whose superhuman flexibility is unparalleled. That man is J.D. Vance. Just watch as J.D. Vance flips on his most passionately held beliefs.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I think that he's noxious and is leading the white working class to a very dark place.
Tonight, we celebrate he is our once and future President of the United States of America.
Unbelievable! Do you believe in miracles? Okay, here we see J.D. Vance trying the technically complex and difficult move of dodging his comments about women.
We're effectively run in this country by a bunch of childless cat ladies. As a parent, you should have more power. You should have more of an ability to speak your voice in our democratic republic than people who don't have kids. Of course, for a whole host of reasons, it's not going to work out for some people. We should pray for those people.
Oh, incredible! Just incredible! Can you believe he does all this from the comfort of his couch? Wow! Just wow! J.D. Vance, the undisputed champion of intellectual dishonesty.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome back. Now, let's get right into it here. The next thing here that was going on today is the DOJ alleging that Russia had funded a U.S. media company linked to right-wing social media figureheads here. They were working as part of a Kremlin-orchestrated influence operation targeting the 2024 U.S. election. Tenet Media, which is, like I said, linked to right-wing commentators, has millions of subscribers on YouTube and other social media platforms, according to a U.S. official briefed on the matter. The indictment was unsealed in New York Southern District, accused two employees of RT, the Kremlin's media arm, of funneling money, nearly $10 million, to an unidentified company described only as quote-unquote Company One in court documents. CNN has independently confirmed that Company One is Tenet Media, which is a platform for independent content creators. It is self-described as a quote network of heterodox commentators that focus on Western political and cultural issues, unquote, according to its website. The Russian operation tapped two people to set up the company in their names to add to its legitimacy, and two founders were aware of Russian money backed the operation, according to the indictment. Among the commentators listed on Tenet Media's website are people named Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, and Dave Rubin. All have released statements saying they were victims of the alleged Russian scheme, and they maintained editorial control of the content they created. Oh, so in other words, when they talked about things, they weren't getting paid, right, by Russia. Each has a loyal fan base online with a combined roughly 6 million followers on YouTube alone. Yeah, I think I've met some of them them jarheads here. Poole interviewed Trump on his podcast in May. Wednesday's indictment outlined how the American social media stars were hired by Tenet Media. Some of these creators were told the project was being bankrolled by a man named Edward Gregorian. Quote, in truth and fact, unquote, the indictment reads, quote, Gregorian was a fictional persona, unquote. The indictment outlines how one of the social media stars was approached by Tenet Media's founder with an offer of $2 million a year to make videos for the company. Quote, it would need to be closer to $5 million yearly for him to be interested, unquote, according to the indictment. Well, so you see, again, Russian interference in our election already. They got caught, though, but the thing of it is, see, when you don't come down hard the first time around when they do something like that, they're going to keep doing it. And this Tenet Media is headquartered in Tennessee, so that puts that state under a big spotlight, which a lot of people aren't going to like. So, in response to that, Biden hit Russia with more sanctions over the efforts to manipulate U.S. opinion in this election cycle, which is good. I'm glad. You know, goddamn right. Hit them with something. You know, right now is the worst time for Russia to be hit with more sanctions after they lost one of their biggest goddamn refineries in their country. You know, and guess what? They'll never be able to get that fixed because the sanctions will prevent any spare parts from showing up over there to fix that goddamn thing. All right? So that plant is going to be shut down, and the price of oil for Russia is going to go through the roof for people. But it's not like those people ever have anything, so it's like, you know, they'll just go back to horse and buggy if they have to. So the DOJ has plans to counter Russia's influence in this matter here. So we don't know what that means, but apparently there's going to be retaliation. And to go back to what happened in Georgia, you know what they were saying, that the school that this happened at, they had a system in place that they were just starting. This was the first year they were using the system where the students and I guess the staff all had these cards, ID cards like. And the cards had a special button in the middle of the card that you press when you're in school that would set off an alert that there's an active shooting problem going on at that moment. Like, it's sort of like pulling the fire alarm. Whenever there's a fire, you pull the fire alarm. Well, everybody's badges were keyed into a central system in the school, okay, that you press it and that sets off the alarm, okay, sets off, it's sort of like connected like Wi-Fi, I guess, is how the damn thing works. Okay, this is the future now. Okay, this is our future. So it's supposed to set that off. Well, this shooting happened before anybody could even do that. Okay, and this was like the first day. I guess. Well, when the shooting happened, was like the first day back at school, and then this shit happens on the very first day after they spent all that money and time creating a system that was supposed to give the school the sense of an ironclad protection. Well, it didn't. And now the parents are hopping mad about it, and some of them are saying they're not bringing their kids back to that school. That's it. They've had it up to here. Enough is enough. Okay? And my response to that is I don't blame you. Okay? If we're not going to be able to get the gun lobby out there to smarten the fuck up and start standing on the side of life instead of death, then maybe we're just going to have to put an end to the whole goddamn culture of public schools, period. Okay? We don't have the balls in Washington to stand up to the goddamn gun lobby, so we got the balls to shut down our public schools. So why don't we just do that? Why don't we just say, look, we're not paying taxes anymore in our towns for public school education. We're not sending our kids here. Why should we have to pay taxes? Okay? Why should we keep paying taxes to a public school system that is unsafe? So People, okay, that's what you're going to have to do now. If you can't get action one way, go the other way and see how far, what that does, okay? Shut down the fucking schools. Start educating your kids at home online. The teachers, you'll lose your jobs, but you'll have to find another medium in order to do your teaching. Okay? That's going to have to be online, like it or not. Because, hey, you know, your schools are dangerous now. Our kids are fucking lunatics. Okay? They're Ted Bundys and Jeffrey Dahmers, and that's what they are now. They're out there to kill. Because for some reason, our parents can't seem to raise the kids on the notion that violence solves nothing. How many of our kids are we going to have to lock up in prison as adults over this fucking shit? Are we going to have an entire generation spending their lives in lockup in a fucking prison somewhere, okay? Because our parents neglected them when they were raising them, treating them like pets instead of like people, all right? And not giving these kids a matter of what's right and what's wrong, what's moral and what's immoral. Probably because the parents themselves have no moral compass, okay? Which I'm starting to believe, because when people support a guy like Donald Trump, you have to wonder, where is this country's moral compass? All right? And when you think about that and you see the kids, how they're behaving in school, it all adds up, doesn't it? It all adds up. And, you know, we're all to blame for this. All of us. Every kid that's dying in our schools over a gun crime or whatever the hell you want to call it, a Republican-endorsed assassination in schools, okay, the blood is on all our hands. All of our hands. We're all to blame for it because we didn't do enough, you know, to kick corporate interests in the balls when they came out, like Charlton Heston, out of my cold dead hand, okay? People like that, we didn't put a stop right then and there when we said, enough of the circus, this is coming to a stop. All right? We didn't do that. Instead, we fought for these people to keep their guns so they get passed down to the kids in this generation that are going to bring them to school and shoot your son, your daughter, your husband, your wife. Okay? We stood in the way of what was the right thing to do. We were the ones that roadblocked, and not the NRA, not the gun lobby. We did. We're the ones that stood in our own way because we didn't have the moral backbone to do what we thought was needed to be done. We thought we didn't have to invest much in there, and so night after night, we watched more schools going through the horror. We watched the body count rise. We watched the police washing their hands of it, not even trying to do anything more about it. We saw the tears, we saw the prayers, hopes and dreams and all that getting shattered all over we let this horror show go on for 40, almost 50 years now. And now, anyone who's 30 years old doesn't know a time when a shooter drill wasn't conducted in their school. Think about that for a minute. I'm going to be, I'm 53 years old. I'll be 53 this month. Okay? I remember a time when we didn't have to worry about shit like that. Okay? Drugs was the big problem in my generation. Kids doing drugs. But school shootings? No, hardly ever heard of that. Didn't happen really. And I think it was Columbine that I see as the spark that began the whole thing. Columbine. From that, it seemed like almost all the time after that, everybody was repeating it, copying it, what those two idiots did. Okay? So, like I'm saying, we could have stopped this thing way back then and we didn't do it. Because, the gun lobbies was sweating bullets, and they knew that if the people rose up on that, it would hurt them big time. So they fought like hell. They bought off every son of a bitchin' politician they could get their money onto. Okay? They did every underhanded deal, every backroom bullshit. They did everything they could to undermine the American public's ability to speak out and put a stop to this shit. They even created their own mobs to go out there and counter the fucking strikes and shit like that the other people were putting up, okay, to protest guns in our schools and stuff. They had their own people go out there, which they paid for. They brought them in by the busloads, all right? And they'd send them out there to go after those people, trying to create the illusion that, oh, not all of America is in support of that. When every goddamn poll since Columbine shows that the American public wanted more restrictions on gun access and these AR fucking rifles and shit. Okay, they wanted that. And they still do, even more today than they did at the beginning. But the right wing, they won't acknowledge that. They say, no, people they don't want that. They don't want, really, how come you guys are always on the wrong side of history with this shit? And you say that, oh, that's the majority side. No, stop pissing on my head and telling me it's raining, okay? The thing of it is we know what the people want in this country, and it's been the same for 30 years. Americans want the guns under control, and that's even coming from people who own these fucking things. You can't have an 80% majority and not include some Republicans who own guns that want to see more restrictions, levied on these things. Can't explain that, can you? You think, oh, it's just the opposite. Well, see, that's the tactic of the right. Okay? They always give you the opposite of what's true. And they'll die on that fucking, on that bed of shit, trying to convince you it's true. So, why should we ever listen to them about a goddamn thing? I don't know. I really don't. Whenever a Republican comments on something of mine and they're bitching, in one ear and out the other, you don't mean crap, okay? You had your chance to make a logical argument, okay, a long time ago, and you never could. You never could about anything that your side ever has done that was supposed to be of benefit to America, and it only ended up benefiting the top of this country. That was it. Trickle-down economics never worked. I think we've given that enough time to see if it worked, and everyone now is saying it didn't work because the rich don't ever want to part with the money they get from you. They want to hoard it. That's what they do. Trickle-down only works if the rich are willing to give as well as get, but they don't. They never do, because greed is what influences these motherfuckers, okay? When you stop thinking about human weakness, okay, and you ignore that greed is one of the 7 deadly sins, then you can't believe, any of this stuff about what Democrats are trying to tell you about how the rich in this country are not on your side. For some of you, you think they are, but they're not, okay? I don't know why the hell you people ever thought that. But the truth is, a lot of you Republicans are suffering only because the rich in this country are keeping you from what you can have, keeping you from a good paying job, keeping you struck down, keeping your wages very low. It's them. It ain't the Democrats, it's the corporations. Democrat government can't tell these people what to pay their workers, okay? And when there's ever a conversation about, let's raise the minimum wage, guess who's out there to oppose it? The Republicans. Some people, you make a mistake. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. What Republicans, the shame is there. It's everlasting. Like Liz Cheney said, okay? Trump will be long dead and buried in a lot of these people's lifetime, okay? But for them, they'll be carrying that man's shame forevermore. All right? Because they know better. A lot of these people know the fucking truth, but they won't look at it. They won't acknowledge it. They won't even want to hear it. All right? And so when they go out there and they start talking to people in whatever manner that they do, either in person or online, okay, their goal, more often than not, is thinking that I can change this guy's mind by just saying, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong to everything they say. Well, let's understand one thing here. The people supporting Kamala Harris, they have a list of things that they are pissed off about. And if you looked at that list of things that they're pissed off about, a lot of those things have more to do about Trump than anything going on right now with the situation that's happening under Biden. Okay, yeah, they're mad about inflation. Okay, that's true, but let's take a look at that on a bigger picture. The United States has the least problem with inflation than the rest of the world, and that's through Biden's work. It would be a lot worse. Okay, inflation is way up in Europe. Okay, it's affecting the rest of the world to a much higher degree. Yeah, it's hitting us hard here, but you got to understand, we've had to create jobs under Biden, so that way more people can have work to be able to afford things. Unemployment has been low under Biden, the lowest it's ever been in a long time. So people have work. It's just they're not getting paid enough, and that's another part of the problem that needed to be addressed. You know, so that way we can afford, that we have buying power. And that's essentially what creates our economy, is people having buying power. And it's been weak. You know, it's been weak up to this point. We've been struggling to get by. We're able to get jobs, but that part of the thing that Biden was going to work on, if he was going to get a second term, Kamala's going to have to work on now when she gets in there. And that's going to be working on consumers' buying power. Us getting our ability to be able to go to a store and buy shit without having to always reach for the cheapest item on the bottom shelf. Okay? We want to be able to go to a store and not worry about, you know, buying 2 boxes of cereal is going to wipe me out for the rest of the month. We don't want that anymore. That means attacking price gouging where it is. That means no tariffs on goddamn shit that's, you know, any more increase in that. Okay? It's high enough as it is. Okay? Because that gets passed on to us when corporations have to pay those tariffs. We end up paying it because they're not going to pay it. They just add that on the bill that we got to pay. All right? We got to get more people to work, and those jobs have got to be good paying jobs, not just fucking, you know, minimum wage or barely. All right? So we have to do that. But you don't hear Trump, you know, talking about it like that. He's talking about tariffs. He's talking about, you know, tax cuts. None of those things is going to benefit everybody at the bottom end of the economic spectrum. None of those things. Okay? But it opens up a windfall of money for the top of this country, who are going to make all kinds of money, you know, off his ideas. But it's not going to help the economy as a whole. You know, and that's what these people that I was reading about, that's what they're concerned with, is how is this going to affect the country as a whole? Is it going to benefit America? And they're all in agreement that it's very unlikely that it will. In fact, it's more likely they're going to see the economy get punished even further with Trump in there, with his idea, if that's what he wants to do, okay? Because some people are thinking maybe he's just bluffing or something. I don't know if he's bluffing or not. Half the time when he opens his mouth, all you're going to get out of there is a lie, all right? So who knows? But as it stands, what he's saying now doesn't add up. It doesn't, you know, doesn't make the equation what he thinks it's going to make it at the end, if he does what he does. Okay? And why should it? Why should we even believe him anyway? This is a guy who's went bankrupt 6-7 different fucking times in his business career. Does that sound like a guy that knows what he's talking about when it comes to a national economy or something like that? No. No. He's a C student when it comes to business, okay? He ain't the best out there. He ain't the best crackerjack. In fact, most of the people he was talking to today probably outstrip him in intelligence in that department. And, you know, I think he opened his mouth too much and he showed just how stupid he really is. And that's why these people are like walking out of it thinking, oh, I don't see this at all. Okay? Sure, MAGA's going to label them all as being, oh, you guys just don't know what he's talking about. He ain't no fucking genius, MAGA. He ain't no fucking genius. You should have figured that out by now. If you haven't, you're really stupid. You're more stupid than he is. Okay? But he is not a fucking genius. He's not your God. Forget about that. He's not a fucking genius. Jesus. Mitt Romney is smarter about the economy than he is. You know, and you guys, if you were smart, you'd have picked him over Trump to win the election. Because at least Mitt Romney would have come up with some plan better than Trump's that would have made a little more sense to the economists that Trump spoke to today. But instead, what'd you do? You drove the orange god, okay? You got on his fucking train, and it's been a party for you ever since, okay? Well, that party is going to come to a screeching halt, all right? And for some of you, it might be too much to handle. And I feel bad for you because you invested all your assets and all your fucking time into this bastard, okay? And I think maybe that's what should happen to you. You know, maybe when this thing comes to a screeching halt and you guys are off crying in your little corners and stuff like that and watching, you know, our new president get the ball running finally in the direction of honesty, integrity, you know, and prosperity, and making you guys, you know, look like the little crybabies are. You know, you guys, what can I say? You did it to yourself. You did it to yourself. And it's sad that you had the ring around the nose of this country for so long, because the majority should have been able to pull back a whole lot harder on you than you think. If people were more active in their politics in this country as they should be, okay, you never would have got as far as you did with that fat bastard, okay? You never would have got as far as you did. All right? But the rest of the country was sleeping while you guys are out there doing your shit. And that's where we went wrong. We never should have fallen asleep behind the wheel to let Trump get as far as he did, okay? That guy should have been laughed out of politics on day one. You know, he doesn't deserve the accolades you guys give him. In fact, he doesn't even deserve a presidential library, for those of you thinking about when they're going to build that. Okay, that fucking thing is going to be a hall of lies. That's what they're going to put in there. That's going to be science fiction. You know, it ain't going to be a museum. It's going to be like stepping into a holodeck and create your own fucking future. Jesus. All right, that's it for today. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the week and the upcoming weekend here. So subscribe, comment, and share. And keep your ears open for any health-related issues. And treat each other kindly out there. And I know it's difficult to watch the news right now as all this stuff is unfolding about Georgia and all that. But I think, you know, we all are going to have to hold our children a little closer than we normally do. And we're going to really have to get really involved in trying to reverse this course here of watching our kids slaughter each other, you know. And that's going to have to start with drastic steps because it's been going on for so long. It's going to take drastic steps. And then one of them steps is going to be about putting bans on guns across the board. I'm sorry, but that's the only way we can start this, to do corrective measures. Until we can get this under control, there has to be an outright ban on all guns, period. All right, so I'll talk to you later, so take care, everybody.